I know that that's why they're coming. I make them do the exercise that's going to make them better first. And then I use the manual therapy truthfully as a bribe to make sure they keep coming. Because once the manual stops, lots of them were going to quit. I think if the insurance is paying and you're using ultrasound or manual or whatever as a bribe, you're probably doing things unethically. You know, that's the reality of it. But that's the way the profession has always run. Should patients have the right to choose their interventions? And I choose these words very carefully, right? Because does the patient have the right to choose their interventions? What would you say if the patient said, quote, I only want manual therapy. I can do the exercises on my own. We hear that a fair amount.
A lot.
If you say yes, then would you also, I would also love to hear your view on the role of the therapist. Because if we're just going to be the waiter who's delivering the intervention, who needs us? Like, we're not using any of our clinical skills, our assessment skills, any of that stuff. Might as well be a technician. On the flip side, if we're only there to do what we want to do with zero impact from the patient, then, you know, we're sitting in that ivory tower or whatever it is, and we're too disconnected. And I think you can make a case, like in Dave's world, Dave is seeing self-pay patients. Self-pay patients are going to have more involvement. I've said 100 times, I am not, the patient has abdicated responsibility of the decision-making to the insurance company in many of my cases.
Yeah.
They say, I will take what the insurance gives me. That's it. So once that patient has done that, then the customer is the insurance company, and I will deliver what the insurance company is buying and nothing more. And so the insurance company is effectively saying, hey, we'll pay for the evaluation, we'll pay for the plan. Once you show them what to do, we don't care if they do it, don't do it, achieve the goal, don't achieve the goal. We are paying you to show them what they need to do, and they're done. And Medicare has published multiple examples. Once I show them, this is a bike, this is a seat, this is a pedal, push it. They're not paying for me to talk to them on the bike anymore.
Right.
All right. What do you guys say?
So right off the bat, I mean, you covered a little bit of it, but like in healthcare, right? Let's say, God forbid, we have a family member, a neighbor, a coworker that has cancer, right? Maybe it's a little different. Maybe we are a little different than the oncologist example, right? The oncologist example would be like, you have, you know, X amount of cancer in this location, you know, it may or may not be spreading, whatever. And like, whatever they say, like that is the treatment. There is the patient, the consumer, the healthcare consumer, they are at the whim of that oncologist and the team and the research and the imaging and any other, you know, lab work or whatever. So that person, that patient, that healthcare consumer kind of turns over everything, like their trust, everything over to that oncologist. And I think it is a little different in terms of like physical therapy and health and wellness and all that. And when someone can do something like exercise elsewhere, they can do it at home. They can go on YouTube. They can do it at the gym. They can do it at a personal training facility, whatever. It is different. So we can get into that. That's kind of like, I don't know, like my initial thoughts on it, because I think it is different in terms of like the navigation of that person going through that type of service or treatment or whatever, us versus oncology.
I would say, hang on, Jimmy. I would say that the thing is, though, like I've had family members that have had cancer. They go to an oncologist. They're still going to make the decision. Do I do chemo?
Right.
Do I do surgery? What are my treatment options? What am I willing to do? And I've seen plenty of cases where the patient says, I don't want to do that. And the physician, oncologist, surgeon, whoever says, then you're not my patient. This is the plan of care. This is what I recommend. If you don't want to follow that, go find another provider. Go find another, you know, specialist, which is fine, totally justified. Like I refer a ton of patients out because there are a lot of things that I don't do. I mean, easy thing, I would never do pediatrics. I would never do neuro. I would never do amputee. But also, I don't want to do sciatica anymore. If you come to me or if I see sciatica on my schedule for an evaluation, I will try to refer them to another provider.
Wow.
Because I don't have tools to manage or treat sciatica. I don't want to.
It's crazy, by the way, but okay. It's fine.
Listen, I was going to have insight, and then I thought, literally, we know the phones listen to us and they bring us things based on what we're talking about. This guy said it way better. So here's a guy by the name of Seth Godin. This video came up just after we talked about
Go to
this.
Momofuku, my 2 kids, my wife and I, on Saturdays. I haven't eaten meat in 35 years. And I would say, I would like the Brussels sprouts, please. Leave off the bacon. And the first 3 times I ordered it, they made it for me the way I wanted. The 4th time we went, David turned to me and said, we make it with bacon because we think it tastes good with bacon. And there's a vegetarian restaurant 3 doors down that someone else owns. I think you should go there. And that was the day that David Chang became David Chang. Pick your customers, pick your future. That is how you actually build a brand. You stand for something for someone. You are not trying to make everything for everyone. If you're not willing to do that, then you don't have a brand. You're just a commodity provider.
That last line sort of hit, right? You're just a commodity provider. Now, I have no, so I don't know if I'm going to be as staunch as this, but I do like where both of you are coming from, which is like, I do these things and not those things, right? I don't want to, because if you start running around chasing everybody, you're exhausted. I do have some thoughts, like in terms of a little bit of choose your own adventure in care, which is like you providing a few options. Which ones would you like to try? My suggestion is trying these first, and then we can move down the line if those don't work. So I sort of like, I'm not directly in the middle of all or nothing, but I'm definitely not on either side, which is like that person who is like, I make the Brussels sprouts with the bacon, and Seth Godin was getting it there for a while. And the guy finally is like, you know what, you're a vegetarian and we're not a vegetarian restaurant. And if I keep bending for you, like this ain't what I do. And there's a difference between like McDonald's and what, I don't know who David Chang is. Apparently he's a famous chef. But he stood for something. But here's the thing, David Chang also has other things on his menu. So he doesn't only provide Brussels sprouts with bacon. There's other things you can get there. And if you don't like it, like that's cool. There's a place down the street. Refer out.
So 2 quick things. If that's actually a real story, David Chang did that on purpose, hoping that Seth Godin would like say the story on like a talk or something, because David Chang is an amazing marketer. He's been on Netflix shows with his different restaurants. He's huge. And, I'm not a foodie, but my wife is. So I guess that's kind of how I know him. But that's one thing. The second thing would be, I think like some of the patients and clients that we have, like we say, hey, we'll help you do this, this, this. Maybe they're in their 70s, right? And they don't want to do a lot of movement or exercise. We'll start on their path. We'll start on their path of least resistance, of the things that they kind of want to do to get them going. Yeah. Then over time, we kind of nudge them over to our path. We go from their path, and then over time we kind of like gradually ease them into the water of like, more mobility, stability, strength, independence, empowerment, all that type of stuff. Which I want to say that I think that's a little different than the oncology example where, okay, the oncologist says, here's all the options. And the patient's like, well, I'm going to pick one. And it's kind of, for the most part, now, of course, in oncology, sometimes it might be like, maybe it's chemo first, and then maybe there is surgery or whatever. So yes, of course, it can kind of go back and forth. But I think that's, at least from my perspective, I would love to hear what you guys think. And also anyone here live in the comments. For what we do, it's kind of like, we know the patient or client, we're evaluating them, but we want to get them going somewhat. And again, we have no side effects. We have no issues with like what we offer. You want to start a little bit, you want to do a little physical therapy with the, chocolate cake style. Okay. Yeah. Let's go your path. And then we're going to nudge you our way over time. And it might be on the 2nd visit. It might be on the 6th or 12th visit. And it might be later, but over time, we want to get them on our path of that type of movement. So I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. At first I didn't like the oncology comparison because it's like an extreme, right? But I sort of do, which is like, it's like choice. I actually like the oncology one because it's like, hey, people with cancer like might have limited time. Dude, if you want to go out, you want to go out on your terms, right? You're like, okay, I think we're going to try this. You've given me 2 options. And if it's my choice, we're going to go this way. So I sort of like that example where it's like, okay, this is important to have buy-in. If this isn't the right, but here's the thing. If the doctor gives you A, B, and you keep picking C, that doctor says like, this ain't like that is I'm giving you you 100% have agency. And I will give you 3 people who would do that. And that is better for you because they're going to be more knowledgeable in that treatment, more motivated. They're going to have more insight. So I like that. Like, this is also, we've gone back to great. What's the great first question to ask someone in a session, not necessarily in an initial evaluation, but like, what's your expectation of today? That's going to increase your odds of having a good experience that day because there's no confusion. That person's not sitting there awkwardly wondering why we're doing this and not that. What's your expectation of today? What's one thing you want to accomplish? What are 1 or 2 things you definitely do or don't do? This is where I say you act like a wedding DJ. This was one thing I learned I used to do wedding DJing in college. My brother would do all the music and I would just be the MC, but I would book a lot of the gigs. And do you want like the question to make sure the brides, it was always the bride, dude. The groom was like, what's on tap and what's the bar? The bride was typically like, what's the music? The 2 questions, what songs 100% need to be played? What songs do you never want to hear ever? As long as I stayed within those bounds, they sort of didn't care. Then I just turned to my brother. I'm like, do play these. Don't play this. Anything else, that's his job. Read the room, present a killer vibe. When people are sweaty, give them a break, right? Like, we play all the wedding games, but like, that was, what's your expectation? And I feel like that's the question we're asking here is like, what's your expectation? Great. That doesn't sound like I'm a good therapist for you, or perfect. That sounds like we can work within these bounds.
And I think this is the joy of being the business owner, the entrepreneur, the creator. You know, this is on the screen. Have it your way.
Yep.
That is from Burger King.
Point.
Right? Jimmy mentioned McDonald's before. Like, McDonald's, you typically get what you get. Burger King, they tried to brand themselves as, hey, we're going to customize the burger for you. Oh. It's kind of funny that I hear so many therapists. It's always about, you know, customization and personalization, and we're going to create a plan of care that's personalized just to you, when we've seen countless businesses do amazing with protocols. And like, when I buy a Honda Odyssey, I've got a couple options, but I'm getting what's coming off the line and what's on the lot. We decide what's the business we want. Mm-hmm. Are we going to be in the fully customized, tailor-made, made to fit you? If we are, $300, $500, $1,000 a session. But if we're not, then let's operationalize this and let's embrace it and say, look, this is what I do. I don't do the other stuff. And just like Seth said, I know that video. I've seen that clip a bunch. If I can't deliver the experience you are looking for, go somewhere else. And I'll even help you find somewhere else, but absolutely go somewhere else if you're looking for a $30 experience.
Here's a good question.
If you're looking for a $300 experience.
What if what the patient wants has no clinical benefit, in your opinion? Do you give it to them anyway just to make them happy? Like what? Like, I would need a more specific example. Like, is this Planet Fitness that serves pizza?
We've all had referrals. They come in, they had therapeutic ultrasound in the past. It made them feel better. Whether the machine was on or off, who cares? So let's say, Scott, we're going to use that as the example. Who's paying for it? And this is where I would say, if I'm in an insurance-based model, and I don't believe there's an absolute requirement for manual therapy. 20 years ago, manual therapy is what the patient was coming for. They want me to rub their shoulder, rub their back, rub their butt. I know that's why they're coming. I make them do the exercise that's going to make them better first. And then I use the manual therapy, truthfully, as a bribe to make sure they keep coming. Because once the manual stops, lots of them were going to quit. I think if the insurance is paying and you're using ultrasound or manual or whatever as a bribe, you're probably doing things unethically. That's the reality of it. But that's the way the profession has always run. If they're self-paying, fine. You can do whatever you want. If it's a hybrid model, the insurance pays for the exercise. You can self-pay for the manual therapy or the ultrasound or, compression boots. To me, that makes me sleep well at night. That makes me feel like I'm doing right by all three: the patient, the provider, and the insurance company. Yeah.
I remember in PT school, I was like, obviously, like, you're taught, like, even my professor, I'm not going to call him out, but he was like, he literally, at our practical exam for modalities, literally sat across the room, like, never even watched if we turned it on, like gave 0 Fs, right, for ultrasound. But now I've sort of switched, like where I'm like, hey, listen, if you believe that's a really great opening hand and that person is asking for it and you can deliver it and there is no harm, right? That's the whole, and we didn't take the Hippocratic Oath, but that's the idea, which is it doing harm? No. Okay. The placebo effect is an effect, right? So you could
still an effect.
It's still an effect. And could you use that to get them to do something else, or not get them, give them the option of doing something else? And I think my answer is now 100% different than it was 5 years ago, which is, yeah, I think you should. I think you should consider it.
We have to ask Tony straight up. So Tony, you have someone come in, maybe it's your like knee replacement or maybe like rotator cuff repair, but we could just say knee replacement. And they say, you know, I saw on not your YouTube, but another YouTube or somewhere on Instagram or whatever that, you know, along with my rehab, I require, or I would be best if I had whatever, electrical stimulation, TENS. I know you're not going to do ultrasound over the knee component, but like they say a modality or something that you wouldn't do. So you tell them your insurance doesn't pay for it. You tell them you just are not going to do it. What do you say if someone that is your patient, knee replacement, and they ask like for, I don't know, the compression boots, or they ask for you to do manual therapy for 45 minutes. I don't know, something like crazy. What do you say to your patient?
Today, I would say, unfortunately, your insurance doesn't cover that service. But fortunately for you, if you would like to pay out of pocket, here's the rate for it. Manual therapy would be $50 for the 15-minute session. If you want to use we don't have, and I intentionally got rid of, like, I used to have the big Chattanooga, Easton, Pre-Mod, IFC, ultrasound. I sold it. I got rid of it because, like, I don't even want to waste time. I don't want that as an option. And we've lost referrals. We've had patients that have come and they're like, where's the machine? And we're like, I don't have that machine. NovaCare across the street probably has it. And they go across the street and that's totally fine. But the exact verbiage is, unfortunately, your insurance plan does not cover that service, that intervention. But thankfully, if you'd like to pay out of pocket for it, these are the rates. And that's it. You know, and so the argument PTs give me is, well, what if they go next door, go down the street, or what about the other therapists who will do it?
Great.
What about them? I don't care. They can do it. I don't want to do it. Like, that's the bottom line. I don't need to do it. I'm not desperate to do it. I don't go grocery shopping when I'm starving because I'm going to buy a bunch of stuff that I don't need. I don't ever want to be in the clinic treating a patient when I'm desperate to pay my mortgage. It sets me up for failure.
Yeah.
So absolutely, without a doubt. And look, truth be told, I'm looking for every opportunity to kick somebody out of my clinic because I don't need more new patients. I've got plenty of referrals coming in. I don't need to do things that make me feel dirty or make me feel like I'm taking advantage of something. Like, you know, I'm in a very good position, but for those who aren't, because I wasn't always,
right.
There were times that I needed to pay the mortgage. There were times that I needed to pay the bank. You got to make your decisions on how are you going to make the money. Make the money first, and then let's do the thing that we're passionate about, that we enjoy, that we feel good about. You know, they can be
Chang
separate.
wasn't doing that like his first month, right? He wasn't telling people to go through.
Yeah, exactly.
But if someone's belligerent in your restaurant, you throw them out, right? But if someone's a little disruptive, you deal with it. So this is a sliding scale. I will say this. The often gripe, or one of the gripes I hear a lot, is people don't understand what PTs do. And I'm like, great, well, that's your fault, right? But other organizations, especially people who sell products, are very good at communicating benefits, right? So let's look at this. Time Magazine, I'm not saying they're end all be all, but Time Magazine is sort of looked at as an authority. They listed as one of their best inventions of 2024 as a recovery product. This is the HyperIce Normatec Elite wireless recovery boots. What if you could use this as we mentioned before, a loss leader or an on-ramp into your care? We know practices, we've talked about them, who have these. Is this physical therapy? Well, physical therapy is a profession. Is this something a physical therapist office could offer as a guide to your recovery? Yes. if you are threatened by Normatec recovery boots, you're a bad PT already, and you know it. If you're threatened by this, you're bad at your job. You are. And you're nervous. So you're going to rage against Normatec. You're going to not like telling someone, hey, listen, if you get relief from manual therapy and you come in twice a week with me, this company Normatec has these guns that will do something very similar, right? Let me show you how to use it properly. If you're threatened by those things, you're bad at your job.
Hey, what's the chance that that's a paid placement? You think that the New York Times or
no?
It's an affiliate link, 1,000%. Most likely, there's been some, finances exchanged. This has been a huge argument in SEO, and everybody claims this is what killed, Google. Yeah, like there is zero doubt in my mind that this was a paid placement with affiliate income coming from it.
Smart move.
So if you have the money, you could be like, hey, we have again, this apparently is a good brand. I have like an offshoot middle range one, but like of the compression boots. I was just like, I don't know if it was worth over $1,000 for the boots. I got a pair for like 400 or something. And it gets the job done. I feel better from it, but it's great because like, that's an example. I mean, this is a kind of a sidebar. They have a brand, they spend a ton of money, right? Normatec, they have a lot of big products. And then they put it out there, and then the blog says like, this is the number one, whatever, best-selling wellness product in 2024 or invention, whatever.
So I shared a link to, and these might be the same boots that you had. Full disclosure, these guys sent me these for free. They're really amazing. Can you guys see the screen? Yeah. I'm just going to play it real quick in the background.
What you would do is
Just like the Normatec, there's no cords. They're battery rechargeable, battery operated. They're independently controlled, so you can use one or you could use both. They sync together if you use both. They do awesome. And so again, for you guys that are out there that are using something like this, these are huge opportunities. The big push that I'm going to make, I'm going to get rid of that, is to have this conversation with you guys to say, look, it's not just like that Times, post. They're making money from the affiliate links. They probably got paid to feature that product, all this stuff. Every single product or tool or item that you guys all use, you can be creating this content. It's an excuse to create a content. Red TheraBand, yellow TheraBand, Flex Bar, Blaze Pods. Like there's so many things that every single piece of equipment should have multiple pieces of content built around it. You'll start getting endorsements. You'll start getting, paid placement stuff. But even if you don't, it's putting your name out there. It's creating media for you. It's generating views and traffic back to your content and getting you clients, if nothing else.
These offerings that you're talking about, Tony, this is another example, I believe, where you can meet the consumer where they're at. The consumer is trying to take their own path. Like they are like looking for services where they're like, hey, I've seen this on TikTok, Instagram. I want to maybe dabble. I want to, do some of these health and wellness things. And these absolutely can be front end offers or, put them on, organic posts all over social media. And then potential local clients or local potential patients and clients that are really just like consumers on the front end. They might see these offers. Maybe you have like some of the things I've seen in New York City, like, cause I'll Google things on purpose and I want to see who's like running Google ads and things like that, or I'll get targeted with Facebook ads. And a lot of the offerings are like a completely free trial. Like that's the front end offer to come in and try like these new like medical spa things. So whether it's red light therapy, hyperbaric oxygen chamber, cupping, cryotherapy, like some of those offerings, I've seen some clinics where the front end, so they're like paying for the Google ad. So that's you're paying for a Google ad, so you're lost there. Then the person takes you up on the offer, comes in free for the first time. So now you're minus whatever the labor and the cost of energy or whatever for your unit. And then, but the idea is to get someone to feel it, try it, like it, and then they buy a package or whatever. And now you just made up a lot of other experiments with failed ads or whatever. So A lot
That
of
could be an interesting
business could be
model,
doing this.
and Tony's done some stuff like this before, I think. Okay. Stop me if sometimes I think I create stuff, but I'm just regurgitating what I've read, and it's not on purpose. I'm not trying to steal ideas. But what if you said there's two options. You can come in and have this recovery suite. You're going to get the boots and the infrared. You're going to do the whole gamut, right? You can have it for free, or you have to sign the media release, and then we make an entire episode out of you, right? And Tony's like, whenever I ask someone, even if they're paying, they usually say yes. But some people are hesitant. I would say, like, you're either going to be a star of the show or you pay for it, right?
Now,
so free, but then I get to
it.
use you, and this is an agreement, and this is a one-time only deal.
This is basically the way we're rolling out the shockwave therapy and some of the other new products that we're getting. But the way we're doing it is we are saying, hey, any existing or prior patient, come back in. As long as you sign the media release, we will, let you use it for free. We'll do it with you, whatever. I need media. I need to promote this product. And as a reward to being a past patient, we'll use it for you. And then obviously that leads to a reactivation campaign, which we've talked about multiple times. Generating content. Let me share this and then we'll get to Sean. Welcome back, Sean. His comment. I know it's really small. I'll just tell you guys on the screen, I'm sharing the analytics from my patient-facing YouTube channel. But like this video, it's a YouTube short published on the 29th, How to Walk Better in Physical Therapy, 2,000 views. Reactive Step Trainer, 1,100 views. Knee Flexion Stretch, 900 views. This one, a lift chair for seniors getting up from the floor. 6,000 views on a short that was published on October 25th. And then the same day, the same chair, the same everything, but a different client, 10,000 views for getting off the floor safely for seniors. Like all of these products, these are all products. I would not have made these videos without the product, but multiple 5,000, 1,000, 2,000, 600, like multiple video shorts. And of course, longer form video using that stuff. It's just a reason to create content, and it's a good reason.
Yep, I agree. Let's go to Sean's quote or comment. Intermittent compression boots are an excellent way to address lower extremity swelling. Awesome. I think it's also great for patients to get professional advice on how to use them properly. Education, isn't that what we want to get paid for? Our brain, and not necessarily Tony rubbing butts and shoulders. Advice on how to use them properly in terms of pressure setting, circulation, sequential modes, etc. Like we keep telling people we're the experts in this, and then we keep telling them that you either do it 100% my way or the highway, and then we're mad when people take the highway. Like you're in show business, and sometimes you got to do show in person, and sometimes you can do show on a video, and sometimes you can do show in an image. The lift chair, yeah. Scott thinking the lift chair is genius.
Not to take credit, but the lift chair originated as a bathtub lift chair. So there was I forget one of the main companies, they were selling it. It goes in the bathtub. It's water resistant. It's battery operated. You can recharge it. It's pretty lightweight. But I was like, this thing is genius. It goes down to like less than an inch off the ground. People can slide on it. I could use it in the backyard. We've had patients that have died in the yard because they fell, they couldn't get up, and they didn't have a phone. I'm like, this is exactly the use case scenario that I've been looking for, and it's not $1,000. It's under $500. I started creating content. One of my videos has over 150,000 views, and I was just showing how this bathtub lift chair can be used for therapists who want to get patients on the ground, but the patient's scared. For people at home who have family members that fall, but they can't get up and they're non-emergency falls. There's so many use cases for this, but I think I'm one of the first people that used the chair in this capacity. And then a couple of years later, I saw a company that started marketing the chair specifically for this, not even talking about the bathtub functionality.
I've seen Tony post this, like that video, one of those videos, like 4 or 5 something years ago, like a long time ago.
All right, so here's the post that I shared, and I think I was in PT school or maybe just a new grad when someone said this to me, and I thought they were being old and salty, but they're like, Jimmy, I see what you're doing. You got a lot of energy, love it, but like remember, like it's not your job to motivate your patients. And I remember just being like, dude, this guy is an Eeyore, and what's your problem? And you're jaded. And then I didn't react, and I sort of listened to what he was saying. And he's like, here's the thing. You're gonna empty your entire tank trying to will someone to want to do something. When in reality, and if you look up the definition of motivation, which Alex Germano didn't, because she was sort of trying to disagree with me, but I think she proved my point by accident, Alex, and I love you. Motivation needs to come from within, not within you, but within the other person. So that's when I started to, as a context, I think I was a swim coach, a kid's swim coach too, at the same time, where it's like, I can't make you like swimming. Like, if you don't like swimming, I got to be honest, it's a pretty boring sport. You go from point A to point A as many times as you can. Like, that's it. Right. So if you don't like that, I can have some fun within it. We can have some fun games, or every couple of days we can stop in the last 20 minutes of practice. We can play polo. Right. But I'm like, if you want to get better at swimming, you have to swim, unfortunately, and do some other stuff. But I can't make you like swimming. So here was the post that I shared. I'll zoom in a little bit. I said, hot take Thursday, coming in on Thursday. It's not our job as physical therapists to motivate someone. Boom. And there's a lot of Peace Corps gene people.
Good statement. I love it.
Boom. It's not our job. I disagree with you. And here's why. But I'd also love to hear some real big motivation energy to change my mind. But here's why I took my stand. Motivation comes from within. And then I come back to the other side. Yeah, we educate, we listen, we outline the roadmap for recovery. But when it comes to motivation, that is something only the patient or the client can bring to the table. We can't push, pull, or drag someone to their goals. We can stand next to them. So true progress happens when they take ownership of their journey. So let's stop thinking it's on us to motivate and our job to guide and support. The drive has to come from them. Do you agree or disagree? So far, ooh, look at that. I thought it would go the other way. I thought I would get hate for this. See, I didn't go fire enough. I didn't go fire enough because 64% so far on LinkedIn are agreeing with me that it, oh, sorry. The poll question is reversed. This is what I thought. Is it your role as a physical therapist to motivate someone? 64% say yes, it is. And I don't think you can. So I think you're wrong because it's not possible. If you're with someone, let's say 3 sessions, an hour a pop a week, and they're not doing anything with you outside the other 165 for 4 hours a week, I don't think it's your job to motivate them. So thoughts on this?
I agree. I think part of our job, at least for our style of therapy or what I used to do in outpatient, like there's a component where we kind of can help nudge, we can kind of help advocate, we can help kind of inspire maybe, or co-motivate. I don't know. But like, I agree. I've said this so many times to our patients and the clients, especially the ones that are like Tony knows, like our ideal client, they're, 60, 70, 80. They want to get back to this, and they have some level of internal motivation where I'm like, this is going to happen. Like, I don't know when, like it might, you getting back. We just had a client that had open heart surgery several months ago. And just yesterday was his first day back driving. And one of my therapists is seeing him, but he called me and let me know like that he went and drove by himself for the first time. This type of patient has a ton of internal motivation. That is just how that person is wired. And it is really challenging. If someone, like, we go to a house call and someone doesn't want to get out of their bed, it's going to be really challenging for us to do that. And maybe it's going to take a while, but no. I think our job is to kind of advocate and inspire, Tony. I don't know, but we can't fully motivate someone to, make this huge leap, even if it's the first step. What do you think?
Like Scott said, you can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink, It's one of those deals where I think we all want to inspire and motivate. We want to. That's why we do this. That's why when we say we want to help people. But I do want to read a quote from Medicare.
Okay.
And if you can't see it on the screen, so it says, quote, services which do not meet requirements for covered therapy services, a Medicare manual, are not payable using the codes and descriptions as therapy. For example, services related to activities for the general good and welfare of patients, such as general exercise to promote overall fitness, flexibility, quote, activities to provide diversion or general motivation do not constitute covered therapy services for Medicare purposes. services related to recreational activities such as golf, tennis, running, etc., are also not covered. Part of this, who's paying the bill? What are we being paid to do? We know plenty of therapists that are working in skilled nursing, home health, other settings where they're going in, they're forcing patients to do stuff like they're burnout, the patients burn out, the doctors are burnout, everybody hates everything. I think that is a toxic environment that none of us want to be part of. But on the flip side, I want to share a different thing because I think this falls into where a lot of us want to be. I shared a video recently talking about my body tutor. Whoops. And, this was featured on My First Million podcast. Look, I mean, people are paying $400 to $800 to $900 a month
for what?
For accountability, for motivation, for, somebody to call
where does
them
it say
every morning
motivation?
and just be like, hey, tell me what the plan is. What do you want to do? These are non-therapists. They're educated individuals, but they're not licensed individuals. And so this is where I think a lot of us wanted to go, where we thought we were going to go. This is where maybe direct access had promised us we would go.
Wait, bring that back up.
Oh,
where does the motivation come in? The $400, $600, or $900 package? Where's the motivation?
So
the more you pay, the more motivated you might be.
I'm gonna make the argument. You come with the motivation. You're not being motivated. The motivation is internal.
Yes. So scroll back up. There was a great graphic by somebody who I follow on Twitter, and essentially it's like, do you need motivation or do you need accountability? Do you need motivation or do you need consistency? It's funny because when you're consistent for a week, couple weeks, a month, suddenly the motivation shows up, right? So it's internal. So I'm not saying you can't attempt to be motivational, right? Which is I'm leading you, but Yoda never like whispered in Luke's ear, like, you can do it, buddy. Like he was actually like kind of a crappy coach. He was like, do or do not. There is no try. Like he was pretty harsh. He was fight clubbing people.
Now, going to Sean's comment, I think that good therapists can help patients find their own motivation, linking exercises and therapy to functional goals. But the thing is, and I interviewed Sean, go to my channel, like we talk about functional medicine, we talk about shockwave, we talk about all sorts of stuff. He is a great example of where I think we aspire to be, most of us. He's got a seat at the table. He goes in and he talks to the referring providers. He talks to other specialists. Like it is a cohesive team that's working to help the patient achieve the goal. And Sean is all self-pay. He's not taking insurance. This is the customer is the patient, not the insurance company, not the referring provider. So I think he's built the business that he wants to help him achieve his goals as much as the patient's goals.
He's also got 28 letters after his name. I counted a lot of letters.
But real quick, back to sports, back to walking the dog, traveling. None of those are covered goals. The insurance company is not paying us to meet any of those goals. Right. And I just had this conversation with the therapist last night. I said, look, you want to treat Medicare beneficiaries. You want them to be able to pay cash. They want to pay you cash. Simplest thing in the world. Ask them what their goal is. Document their goal as stated by the patient, because I promise you their goal is not feed myself, dress myself, bathe myself. It's travel, it's leisure, it's gardening, it's hiking. None of those are covered goals by Medicare.
The problem with that, Tony, is that the 2 and 3 physical therapy offices down the street will bill Medicare for that patient with the same exact goals.
Yeah. 100%. But that's not the problem.
And it would be defined as fraud in Medicare's definitions.
Well, it would be, I don't know about fraud. It would be unethical. I would call it fraudulent because what the therapist is hearing is, I want to ride my bike around the park. And what they're documenting is the patient can't put
ADLs,
on. So that's the reality of the situation in most patient care settings. That therapist has to sleep well at night. It's their choice on how they do that or not. Certainly they see functional deficits. They know this person can't put on their shoes as well as they could. So there may be a gray area there, but to me, the irony here is they're shooting themselves in the proverbial foot as a therapist by doing that, by saying, hey, I'm going to deliver a Mercedes, but I'm going to charge you for a Honda. That's where we fall short as a profession.
Now, hold on a second. I wanted to walk away from this question. Should physical therapists try, or do they actually motivate their patients with something tactical? And once I did this, I cheated. I moved the goalpost and things got a little easier. Things also get easier when I work with, I worked with an organization in terms of communications. I won't say which one, but one of their goals was to sell courses, right? Sell education. And the person creating the content was overdoing it. They were you could see it in their copy and their stuff. It was dude, you are trying too hard. And the person on the other end was but I need them to buy something. And that's when I realized, I was oh, I need you to aim less. And if me using these analogies, and I use the same damn ones over and over again, take that as a cue. And the analogy I used was, you're trying to get this person to marry you the first or second time they see this ad or this content. I need you to have them agree to the second date. So your job is actually not to get someone to become motivated. Your job is not, as a copywriter, is not to get someone to buy. It's to get them to understand. Because going back to that quote from my favorite Peloton instructor, I make suggestions, you make decisions. If I keep putting something in front of you that outlines your pain and where you are and where you want to go, and you decide to never take me up on it, great. I was never going to change your mind. But if I do that 1,000 different ways, as Seth Godin would say, marketing is just the process of saying the same thing 1,000 different ways, not saying 1,000 things the same way. That's different. Your job is actually get to them to understand, because we're big dumb animals, and you're never actually going to convince anybody to do anything. Even if you yell, scream, offer them money, they'll do it for a little while and then it'll fade, right? That's a bribe. So I think if you change the goalpost, which is, and I'm not saying you have to, if your goal is to get someone to understand, it doesn't mean we'll just do it like mayonnaise and be boring. You can have energy, but understand your goal is not to get them to be motivated. Your goal is just to get them to achieve understanding. What they do with it from then on, their decision. Corey says he sees motivation as a spectrum, not black and white. Agreed. Yeah. While intrinsic motivation is the ultimate goal, a little extrinsic nudge from a skilled physical therapist can sometimes be the catalyst that gets patients moving towards their goal. Sure. It's about finding the right balance. Yeah.
We got some great comments coming in. David said, how do the best coaches get the most out of their players? Why can't PTs do the same for their patients?
Okay, but here's the flaw in that analogy. I can't make you like swimming. And a lot of people come to PT and they want the goal and they don't like the process. Coaches and players have it self-identified. I'm an expert at this game and you want to play this game. So the problem with that analogy is a lot of people will come to PT and be like, can you just rub my butt? And you're like, yes.
Yeah. Can you get rid of my back pain or sciatica, but without me doing anything? I just want to lay on a table. No. Yes. That is the difference. It's not like all of our patients are the self-selected ones that chose the sport, or they chose I want the manual therapy and the corrective exercise, and I'm okay with doing the therapeutic exercise and completing my daily home exercise program and everything else my therapist, Tony Maritato, said.
So I think the people that are disagreeing with me are having this initial reaction that I did with this question, which is, can you motivate someone? And Dennis Morton is where I get that one. I don't even think he was the first person to say it, but he says it a lot. I make suggestions, you make decisions. He also says, if you can't be good, be careful. I mean, I feel like Dennis Morton and I would do well and hang out and be buddies. I'm not saying you're not allowed to be fun and have energy and try to help people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying be a little more kind to yourself and realize that you can only do so much. And your job, in my opinion, is to actually achieve understanding. You can do that with great energy. Coaches do that. They bring energy. They say, hey, we're going to have fun today. Oh, my goal is fun. Perfect. But our goal is also to swim, 3,000 yards today. And if you don't like that, I'm not going to make you swim 2,000 yards because my team does this. So understand that when you're David Chang, the restaurateur, or a great coach, I make suggestions, you make decisions. But here's the tough part. if you don't do this, you're out. And you got to stand by that. And then eventually, hopefully, the goal is that you'll be left with people who understand what the process is, and you have reached the goal, which is understanding. So focus on your end of the equation, because you can't be responsible for someone else's decision making. This is also why I don't like, and we won't have to go too deep into this. This is why I don't like when companies want to do a purely affiliate deals. If someone's like, hey, I'll give you a code, and then if someone follows through on that code, I'll give you some money. And I'm like, cool, but it feels like me doing a lot of things and then maybe getting something where you definitely get things from day one. But I need someone to follow that code, or maybe they follow that code, but they don't put in where they heard it right. I don't get credited with that. So it's like, my job's to achieve attention. I stop there, right? I will talk about your organization, or I will share that information. And then if someone decides, that's on you. It's sort of like I have to get someone from Kansas to the beach in Florida, but you're paying me only if they go from the sand to the water. It's like, dude, look how far I got them. I get nothing for that? Doesn't feel fair. So I don't engage.
No risk for you. I'm sorry, no risk for them, risk for you.
Sure.
And then going back to Corey's thing. So, I mean, I don't know, I think we covered it enough, but he mentioned internal motivation, right? So maybe are we missing the internal motivation versus external motivation? Like internal is that individual
motivation.
I like the coaching, like the rah-rah, the cheering, is that external motivation?
Maybe. Yeah. I think that's your different ways of getting understanding. It can have energy, right? Infomercials are a great example. Like their goal is to look at an infomercial and mock it all you want, but it's brilliant. It's 60 minutes of someone just going problem, solution.
It converts.
Problem, solution. Yeah. But wait, there's more. They do it with energy, but they realize you're going to make a decision or not. I'm just going to make it so mind-numbingly easy for you to go, yes, this problem will never go away unless I pay $19.95. But wait, I'm going to get 2 for $20 if I call in the next 15 minutes. Their job is only achieve understanding. They never motivate you to do anything.
I think one of the things we don't talk enough about is where the therapist is on the spectrum of their, professional career.
100%.
So last night we had the end of year party for my kids' 8th grade football team. And it's like, I look at my kids' 8th grade football coach versus a 3rd grade football coach versus a college football coach, or a professional football coach. Like, you can't take a professional football coach who's successful, put them in front of 3rd graders and expect them to be just as successful. The 3rd graders need very different things. And so when we're looking at patients that are coming in, and this is where I think our marketing tends to fail us, when the patient is coming in with no idea who you are, no idea what to expect, no idea what's going on, they're just coming because the doctor told them to come. How do you match the best therapist with the best patient at the right meeting point? We need to talk about that. We need to say, and again, this is another reason why therapists should be referring out more than they do. You should not be treating every referral that comes your way. If you've got a novice exerciser or, a geriatric who I see this a lot. Geriatric, grew up on the farm, always did hard work, is not afraid of hard work, but hates exercise.
Yeah.
They will carry jugs of water back and forth across an acre lot all day long. They'll bale hay in their 80s, no problem. But if I ask them to lift a 3-pound dumbbell, they think it's a waste of time and they don't want to be there. That person needs a very different therapist than somebody who's coming out of a CrossFit gym and they want to, do muscle up or whatever. Like, we should match the therapist to the personality of the patient.
Agreed.
And I don't see that as a vehicle in our profession yet.
Agreed. This goes back to, what if if you're a clinic, let's say you're a clinic with 5 therapists, do you run marketing for the clinic or do you create celebrity PTs? Which is, I'm going to market this person and this personality, because if the farmer comes to this person, they're going to get the wrong thing and it's a crappy fit and it's a waste of everyone's time, effort, and money, versus do you match the message to the provider because they're providing different things? I don't know, but it feels like The Mandalorian, this is the way, or this should be the way, but it's not. I don't see it a lot. I'm not saying people aren't doing it. If you're doing it, I'd love to see it in your clinic. I do this a lot, which is like, I share like advertising examples with you. And I think I shared, and we're going forward with something at Vestibular First in the next couple of months, where we're stealing an ad campaign from like 20, 25 years ago, and we're just ripping it off and parroting the hell out of it, right? I'm dusting off this old thing and doing it new again. So I like looking at advertising campaigns and like, hey, what element can I steal from this, and running it by you guys. I would love if we did an episode of clinic actually sharing their marketing and being like, this has worked well for us, or this flopped, or how do we fix this? And I would do it without like, I'm not going to tank on someone, because I think if you're trying and you're willing to share something with us for real, like that shows like you're trying. And I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I'd be willing to like group think, man. Like, could we help someone by a copy change or an image change or a strategy change? That can go a long way. That's worth a lot of money.
Yeah, I think most therapy clinics, most practices will advertise like, this is our practice and it is what it is. I think now more with Instagram and TikTok, there are, I can't think of any offhand, but there are more practices that I've seen where they're doing more video content for their individual therapists. And then it's like they're asking them questions, or they're saying like, I don't know, like not just the types of patients and clients and diagnoses that they evaluate and treat, but also like more about the person, like where they went to school, the activities they like to do outside of the practice. Like, I think some of the public likes that type of stuff, and they can kind of learn and kind of see this therapist, how they carry themselves, how they kind of talk, their tonality, all that. And then that, I think, can help attract certain patients where they're going to call in and they're going to say, hey, I want to, like, I saw Jimmy on your Instagram, or I saw Tony on your TikTok, whatever. And I really like them, or what, like, can I schedule with them? And I agree, Jimmy, like, I think it's completely underrated. Like, no practices are making their therapist,
the star.
What did you say, like celebrities or the star?
Celebrity PT. Yeah.
For the record,
okay,
celebritypt.com is still available on GoDaddy. Whoever takes that project.
Okay. So let's pretend we're Chris Corner on the Corner Office, and he's got a great podcast where he essentially is like, here's a thread. How do we turn this into a business? And like, the guy also does it. If he's not lying, he, if what he says is true, he puts his money where his mouth is, right? So if you were going to do that, if you're out there and you're like, I own a clinic, yeah, I'm going to, instead of marketing the clinic, I'm going to market Tony and Dave and Jimmy. How do I do that? So is the business, we create the template, the blueprint, we show you how to do it. Is this the thing that I was pitching you guys the other day, which is, I just did a thing for AMPT at their conference. I went there for 2 days. I recorded like 17 or 18 episodes. That's enough content for them for months. And they paid me for that. But a clinician or a clinic's probably not going to be able to afford me to fly there with a videographer and then do all that after work. But what if I could set it up at CSM, fly in a day or two early, and then run people, be like, okay, you get a 2-hour block. And when you're done, we can show you, we can essentially market your one PT. We're going to give you enough assets to walk away and show you how to do it. So you're providing some work, the photography, the videography, the editing, but then also the strategy, which is like, okay, now here's how you use these tools. Is that something a clinic might pay $2,500, $22,000 for a session that you'll be able to have assets to use for a year, or as long as that clinician's there? Photo shoot, video shoot, things like that.
It's long. So I'm a practice owner. Sorry, there's a car driving by and I'm out here on a truck.
Cars out there on the sticks with log cabins. Okay.
There is some paved pavement, but each direction there is gravel roads. So yeah, we're way out. The fact that I have Wi-Fi here is incredible.
We'll make sure the hamster doesn't stop running.
Sidebar, I had bugs on my neck. I got rained on earlier. You guys didn't even say anything. I got rained. Did you see? I got rained on and I moved. So for this offering, yes, if you're saying for me as a practice owner, Jimmy, you're going to give me deliverables like assets, digital assets, and you're going to send them to me in like Google Drive, and I don't have to lift a finger at all, other than just like myself or marketing person just posting them to social media all day. In fact, like I literally would pay this to be like one of the owners. Absolutely.
I want to try it at CSM. I mean, I don't know. Do I need like 5 before I invest? Because I got to fly a day early. I got to fly in a photographer, videographer that I got to do afterwards. I'm looking for 5 people, I think, just to do this as a beta test. And then could I be like 6 months from now, like, I'm coming to Chicago, we're doing this for a 3-day weekend, book your slot now, it's 2 hours, yada, yada, and bring in a small team. And this way you get to leverage scale instead of just like, I'm coming to, the city just to work with Dave.
I think, and I know we're running out of time, Chris Do, the Future podcast, he kind of talks about a little bit something like this, like what does Nike spend on a logo versus what does my mom, who's going to open a seamstress service out of her garage, spend on a logo? If you're talking about a small single owner operator who doesn't need to grow, isn't going to hire staff, isn't going to do anything, they're never going to pay for something like this. Right. But if you're talking about kind of an ambitious, new in entrepreneurship, growing a clinic, growing a business, planning on going from 100,000 to 1 million to 10 million, they're going to put the money into something like this. So it's finding that slice of the pie. I know guys that are running, 16 clinic locations. They don't see the value in it because they already have everything that they need.
They're past the tipping point.
Yeah. So it's finding that kind of, I'm going to use the word young, not as age, but as newer in business.
Life cycle.
That young, hungry, growth mindset entrepreneur, they're the ones that are going to put the money into it because they know that's what they need.
Scott said, set up a booth at CMS and do it. If you build it, they will come. I would say not a booth because I don't really need traffic there. I would like rent like a dope Airbnb because I'm going to sleep there, right? But during the day, I'm going to be able to use the cool Airbnb as like the backdrop because like that's all I'm worried about is like I want them to like maybe show off some treatment, but I don't need to be in a clinic to do that. Like I actually think it's or we'll do it outside. I want some walk and talk video, right? That you can just use as B-roll later, and then I'll pass off the editing to someone who's better at it than me. That's going to get it cost effective. Chewy says yes. I have no idea what Chewy is saying yes to, but I agree with you, Chewy. The answer is always
Please expand.
Please elaborate on your yes. All right, we're at the hour mark. I do want to piggyback this one last question, and I put it in our Facebook group. And I've never seen a poll go 100% yes with more than 20 votes. And the question was, should Tony and Dave fly to CSM in Houston in February? And we do this podcast live every morning from somewhere at CSM, like College Game Day. And 100% of people said yes. So my question is, what type of boots are you wearing in Houston?
What type of what boots?
Boots. Yeah. Houston, man. It's all about country.
I was going to say, that's what Chewy's saying yes to. Okay, everybody's saying yes. I don't know. I'll have to see.
This is not even planned. I love this. Just yes.
Yes.
And then we'll do a bar night, and then we could do the show after, then we do a happy hour, right? I don't know. I'm just throwing out there parting shots as you guys digest a trip to Houston and cowboy hats. Keep going. All right, who's got their parting shot first?
I'll go first. I just want to say, I would love to be there in Houston. There's lots of opportunity out there. I will do my best to see if I can get there.
Parting shot with the whole thing about motivation and your patient. Like starting blocks is like you have to understand your ideal patient or client. And if you don't, like maybe you haven't had enough reps or you haven't niched down. I'm not saying niche down per se, but like you have to know your ideal client, what they love, what they don't like, what are they looking for, and all that I think can convey like your experience over the phone, your first visit, all that. So if you don't know your ideal client, like you have to kind of figure it out.
This is me giving other people grace. Your job is not to motivate someone to do anything or feel something or any of those things. Move the goalpost closer and understand that your job, first and foremost, is to achieve understanding. I know you want the outcome. I know you want the end result, but you got to dial it back. Complete the first task. Does this person understand why lifting the 3-pound weight will help them bale hay, right? So your job first is actually a communication goal. Achieve understanding. The other things then have a chance to come, but you cannot will someone into existence of wanting to do the things that you want them to do unless they understand first. So your first and foremost job is achieve understanding.
Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. Shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE at CONCIERGE painrelief.com. Or you can call me at any time, 646-781-8884.